a few months ago, we did a video about a Red Hot Chili Peppers single called Tip of My Tongue. Now, that's one of our most watched videos, and a lot of the comments in that video told us to check out Unlimited Love from 2022, from April.
April 1st.
Oh, yeah, it's still 2022, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes I lose track. But yeah, from April 1st, Unlimited Love, aptly named because this thing is a large body of work. And it's part one of sort of what you could call a double album because the second part just came out in October.
Yeah, and both albums, okay, so Unlimited Love, I was listening along, doing my thing, and after a few songs, I go to check how long it is. An hour and 13 minutes, 17 songs. And then the one that just came out, I didn't see how many tracks, but an hour and 15 minutes.
It's a lot of music.
In 1 year, in like 4 or 5 months of each other.
Wow.
I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
The fans are eating good. Let's dig in and talk about it. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
If you're coming back from that last Chili Peppers video, thanks for coming back. We finally got to it. We checked it out. Here's what I think overall. I'm a huge fan of By the Way, but I kind of fell off with Chili Peppers after that. I wasn't a huge Stadium Arcadium fan.
Yeah, I've never heard that one.
That's also a large body of work. It's a double record. Hearing Unlimited Love and the return of guitarist and songwriter John Frusciante. John Frusciante. Yeah.
You guys know.
You know who I'm talking about. Good old John. I was really impressed, and I hear a lot of what I liked about By the Way, which is some of the darkness, the less funky sides of the band, and the more sort of introspective sides of the songwriting and the lyrics. But there's also plenty of fun in there too. But I will say this, a lot of music to take in at once, and I can't even think of like song by song because it's a lot of music.
That's how I felt. It's a lot, and I did notice. Yeah, it's not super funky. Like having listened to Tip of My Tongue, I'm not sure. We haven't listened to that album. Maybe that's like the funky one, and this is more. It seems
like it from the album cover.
Yeah, from the album cover. But I didn't really feel like there was any particular song that like really stood out on a first listen to me, which is not really a good sign, though doesn't necessarily mean I wouldn't find ones I liked more on a second listen, but also like that's a lot to ask. I mean, I actually have no problem with bands putting out really long albums.
Yeah.
But this felt like not needed to be this long.
Like maybe you could have trimmed the fat a little bit.
Yeah, like maybe cut a few songs and like concentrate more on fewer songs and do more. I don't know. Everything sounded kind of like, yeah, that's Chili Peppers, to me, like nothing going, oh, they did that,
Yeah, I heard a little bit more innovation than you did. It sounds like just as far as like the type of music they play and the different kind of sounds they try out. I heard some unique stuff in there. That's what reminded me of By the Way. It's like the first time since By the Way that I've kind of heard them push themselves a bit and like try out new things. Now, I don't know how much of that has to do with Rick Rubin, but I know they came to Rick Rubin with like 100 songs.
Yeah, wow.
They recorded 50 of the 100. And from what I understand, they approached the label wanting to put out a 40-song album that was like multiple discs.
Yeah.
And the label was like, no, but we'll compromise. We'll do like 2 releases in the same year. So It's essentially a double record. I also have no problem with large bodies of work. I grew up loving Melancholy by Smashing Pumpkins. I think if you're a huge fan of the band, it's like the best thing ever. You're not going to be starved for new music for a while.
I think, yeah, if you're a big fan, this is right. This is exactly what you want from them. And yeah, you probably will see more innovation. The only Peppers I've heard is I had By the Way, which I would listen to, not like all the time, but I listened to it. And then, of course, when I was in high school, Californication came out.
Those singles were massive.
And I like only heard the singles, but like that to me is very defining of the band. And I actually really like that. I know you're not as big on it, but I really like those songs.
No, I like those singles a lot.
Okay.
They were just so inescapable when it was the summer of 99, so I was 9. So like, a lot of people go farther back with this band, but that was the Chili Peppers of my youth.
Yeah.
And so then coming into By the Way, it was, I was familiar with that sort of darker sound like you heard on something like Other Side. Mm-hmm. So that's what I gravitate towards with these 4 guys working together, is that sort of darker, deeper stuff. Mm-hmm. And a little bit of funky is fine, but it's generally not really what I'm into.
Right, yeah.
Which was surprising when we heard Tip of My Tongue. We were both just like, you know what? This is fun.
It's pretty fun. I
It's
mean,
really
it's
fun.
it was a standout in the sense that like, yeah, it was really fun, and I hadn't really heard anything like, with all the funkiness and so much music that's coming out right now, it stood out.
Yeah, and this album and that single, and I'm gonna assume that record, the new one, it's so clearly not a cash grab.
Yeah.
Or just like going through the motions. There's something so cool about, like, even if it's not our favorite thing ever, seeing like the 4, I guess, I know not founding members, but I guess the 4 like core members coming back together and like clearly trying to be as creative as possible and putting out a bunch of music that they like is really cool and comforting to see. I mean, these guys are, they're not young men anymore.
Yeah, and you could really like be super lazy if you wanted to at
you
this
could
stage
milk it, yeah.
of their career. And I feel like that's, to me, the problem isn't them being lazy. I think that the problem, which is maybe not even a problem, is, having John come back in, and they just had so much, like they instantly got like so excited and were just recording, writing. And it just like all just sort of like got it out of their system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like a giant dump of creativity. And, that's an interesting discussion. Would it be beneficial to sort of trim the fat a bit, take these like 40 songs that they had and pick the best, 12 and just put out a really solid album and maybe like a B-sides collection later?
Oh yeah.
Would there be a more chance of even more success? Although I think this record was very successful for them.
I mean, or do like 2 45-minute albums. But that's the thing, is like, having found out, because of how popular our initial video is, their fan base is super strong. They have such a strong fan base. And so this is the kind of band that kind of knows what people want, which is, yeah, I'm not like a new fan coming in being like, I'm going to like dip my toe in and see if I like Chili Peppers. Like, if you're going to do that, you'd probably go back to Californication or something older.
Yeah.
With this album is for like the people who've been with them and are welcoming all this music, because they can really like listen a lot to it and spend a lot of time picking out, like you were saying, there's innovation there, but it's kind of subtle almost.
Yeah. It's, in fact, you could say it's like a celebration.
Yeah.
It's like a reunion, happy celebration. Let's get together, do a bunch of cool stuff. And guess what? You guys get to hear it all because you've been with us so long. We've been around so long. And, they've gone through a lot of loss and stuff in their lives. And it sort of feels like a celebration of like, we're still here doing this together as friends.
It is impressive because, I mean, I honestly, like, we do music together and we've had a third member in the past, and it's tough, like, meshing people together like that. And I'm always very impressed when bands last that long. I know most of them that go on a long time end up replacing members and things, but to have like a concept of a band and to like keep doing it for that long, it's not that common. Not most people can't do it. Even like the people who reach the highest level at a certain point in their career, they're not necessarily going to be able to sustain it in this way.
Yeah, and even when they didn't have John and they had that other guitarist, he was like younger and was sort of started out as a fill-in, and then they made records with him. I think even those were fairly successful. They weren't, smash hits like the earlier ones were, but it's like they never go away. They never truly miss.
Right.
And yeah, that's cool to see. Black Summer, I thought was a cool way to start the album and a standout. Although I think, Anthony's voice sounded very processed.
Yeah, I think his voice was a little odd on that one myself as well.
Yeah, because Rick Rubin productions are generally very stripped down to their most needed, just what's needed, So a lot of the times when you have something that minimal, you can hear a lot of that processing going on a bit, and could have used maybe more like raw sounding, vulnerable sounding vocal to start off the record, but that was really one of my only critiques.
Yeah, I think for me too, just like lyrically, like clearly there's a lot of songs, and he probably, I don't know if Kiedis writes all the lyrics or
I think so.
Whatever, but and a lot of the songs are very lyric heavy, like have a lot of lyrics in them.
Yeah, there's some mouthful songs in there.
So to me, just there was some like side eye moments where I was like, maybe he could have given that line another pass. But I think, I talk about lyrics a lot, and because it's something that I notice, and I know there's a lot of people who it's not as big of a deal. And like there's some funny, little ones. Like I guess not every lyric has to be.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to like "Give It Away" and like this sort of silliness of the more funky songs of theirs, and there's definitely some of that here.
Yeah,
and that's also kind of what makes it feel like a celebration of the band. Is like they're kind of touching on all the eras a bit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thanks for the recommendation. We went back, we listened to it. I know this isn't like a track by track review, more our thoughts on the record and where the band's at presently. So, do you want to see us jump into the next one? It's a lot of music. I need a little break.
Yeah, but probably wouldn't be like next week or anything, but
but yeah, if you stick around, I think we'll probably be checking out that, what is it called? I keep just referring to it as the other one, Return of the Dream Canteen. Okay.
Yeah, look at that album artwork too.
Yeah, that looks like it's gonna be funky. What do you think? Should we dive in? Should we check it out? Thanks for watching. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
See you later.